The King's Avatar, Chapter 1365 The Underestimated Rookie. Audio source, WuXiaWorldAudiobook.com. Translator, Noam Yummy. Editor, Noam Yummy. The match had officially began, but the audience hadn't gotten ready for it yet. No one had recovered from the news that Ye Xiu wasn't playing. But the first thing each team did when the match began had the entire audience snapping their attention back to the match. Team Wind Howl, player and account substitution, healer player Ruan Yongbin, cleric soul healer switched out, 6th player Guo Yang, Chi master Chi breaker switched in. Team Happy, player and account substitution, healer player and Wen Yi, cleric little cold hand switched out, 6th player Mo Fan, deception switched in. The entire stadium exploded into uproar. Everyone had gotten used to Wind Howl's new playstyle by now, and some even questioned why they even bothered having a healer at all. Of course this was just sarcasm. Having a healer in their starting lineup added a layer of uncertainty for their opponents. Even though they knew that Wind Howl favored the tactic of switching their 6th player in for a 5 DPS formation, they would be forced to wonder if the other would really use it. Oftentimes, they still need a healer behind them to help stabilize the situation, so that was why a lot of people thought Misty Rain too extreme with their 6 DPS lineup. In this match, Wind Howl was using their usual play style, but no one had expected that Happy would copy them, throwing their healer out for a DPS the moment the match started. Happy is really too brave, Pan Lin exclaimed. Team Wind Howl had rolled through the competition with their playstyle, and, until now, no other team had been so resolute, arranging a full DPS formation to counter. This was another huge shock after the first, where everyone realized Ye Xiu wasn't playing. But, speaking of, it isn't like Happy hasn't used this playstyle before. Of course back then their goal wasn't a man-on-man offense like Wind Howl, Li Yibo brought up. Pan Lin thought back. It seemed that they really had switched out their healer for their 6th player to maximize DPS before. Happy had utilized this ages ago. Then what are they aiming to do this time? Pan Lin wondered aloud. Let's wait and see, Li Yibo said. Pan Lin rolled his eyes. At a time like this, shouldn't he do some analysis? Li Yibo was just getting worse and worse, pretending that he had nothing to do at times like this. The two teams charged out. Team Wind Howl split into 3 groups, 2 people heading to the left and right flanks. This flank attack was their usual strategy. On their home turf this round, the familiarity of the map had them moving even faster and more decisively. On the other hand, Happy's 5 were in a tight group. Never mind scattering, their current position was almost too closely spaced. What's Happy trying to do? Pan Lin's curious and anxious attitude wasn't an act to rouse excitement. He really did want to know. They switched out their healer for a DPS, but considering this formation, it doesn't seem like they intend to fight man-to-man. They probably don't, Li Yibo agreed. If they really were planning on a man-on-man, then Happy would most likely be at a disadvantage. Team Wind Howl's players are very strong individually, which is what has allowed them to perform so well at this man-to-man offensive. It's probably not the best idea to face this head-on for Happy. Just as they spoke, the two teams met. For Team Wind Howl, it was Ting Hao, Lin Feng, and Zhao Yuji. As for Happy, all their members were present. Team Happy's movement speed suddenly fell, while Wind Howl continued to charge forward. Suddenly, there was a poof from Happy, and then purple smoke rapidly spread out, immediately enveloping Happy's characters. Smoke bomb. It's Happy's deception smoke bomb. Pan Lin yelled. No wonder Happy's formation was so closely spaced. Were they wanting to use the cover of smoke bomb to make their opponents incapable of figuring out the situation? Pan Lin yelled out excitedly, as if he had discovered a new continent. However, Li Yibo frowned, deciding against making any hasty judgments. Did they want to break up Wind Howl's man-to-man with just a smoke bomb? That was underestimating their opponents a little too much, wasn't it? That's what Li Yibo thought. Childish. On the field, Wind Howl's captain, Tang Hao, looked at Happy's strategy with disdain. Wind Howl had honed their man-to-man over and over. It wasn't easy to break. Smoke Bomb could conceal characters, but it was best for a single character. With 5 characters, it was a little too much. It was okay if they didn't move, but once they started moving, the smoke would move too, and then it was a matter of observing the thickness of the smoke to find out where each character was. Or, they could just ignore the smoke and wait. It wasn't like the smoke from smoke bombs would move with the characters. If Happy's 5 just sat there, by the time the smoke dispersed, they'd still have to fight. In conclusion, there were too many ways to counter this. If Happy thought that a smoke bomb was some sort of amazing counter-strategy, then they were far too naive. A single smoke bomb can't cover for all of them. Destroy them, Tang Hao ordered, matching their aggressive style perfectly. In addition, he hadn't even bothered to switch to the team chat, sending the message directly into the public chat. Happy's strategy was honestly embarrassing. Sending the order directly into the public chat would teach them a lesson, and might have them wavering. Tang Hao didn't rely purely on passion when fighting. As a captain, he knew what he should do. Wind Howl's team followed his orders, charging forward. By then, Lu Hao's Spellblade, Absent Sun, and Guo Yang's Chi Master, Chi Breaker, had arrived as well, and they acted in perfect sync with the other 3. Wind Howl's playstyle was very mature now. I'll get rid of their smoke, Lu Hao yelled into the chat. He was relatively more cautious. Being unable to see Happy's current situation unsettled him a little. Together, Guo Yang, on the left, understood his worries as a teammate back from Excellent Era, and coordinated with him. The 2 mid-range attackers both had AoE attacks, making pincer attacks very satisfying. Thus, Absent Sun began casting a wave sword while Chi Breaker casted to gather Chi energy. Yet that was when a missile shot out of the smoke, trailing flame behind it. Dancing Rain's missile headed straight for Absent Sun, interrupting his cast. On the other flank, the air seemed to have been pierced through by something, leaving behind a chain of transparent ripples. Chi Blade. How could Guo Yang not recognize this skill as a Chi Master player? This was Fang Rui's attack, interrupting his. The 2 attacks from the flanks had been interrupted, but Tang Hao's Demon Subduer was already charging in from the front, while Lin Feng's Doubtful Demon had activated Stealth, creeping closer. Zhao Yuzha's Elementalist, seeing the 2 casts interrupted, didn't bother starting to cast a powerful spell. He jabbed his step forward and a raging flames exploded up amidst Happy's formation. The flames, rising like a volcanic eruption, shot up several meters, but no characters were blasted up by it. Tang Hao's Demon Subduer had finally gotten within attack range and Lin Feng's Doubtful Demon had closed in successfully with Self. Happy's smoke cover now looked like it was boiling over with those attacks starting to thin. Attack. Quote. With Tang Hao's cry, Team Wind Howl began their most practiced divide and conquer. WuxiaWorldAudio.com. Ice Wave Sword. Lu Hao's Absent Sun swept his blade out. Frost swept across the ground, tearing into the smoke. The glittering light blue crystals left a clear mark in the purple smoke. Hit. Update by Box Novel. Lu Hao saw the crystals hit a target. He didn't know who it was exactly, but this target would have their speed slowed. Happy's rhythm was with this destroyed. His blade rose once more, this time surrounded by wisps of flame. Fire Wave Sword. The wave sword with the strongest attack power was prepared, but that was when Lu Hao felt something strange with the ground under Absent Sun feet. He hurriedly stepped away and looked down, yet found that he was unable to take this step. A vine had wrapped itself around Absent Sun foot. Devil World Flower. Lu Hao was stunned for a moment, immediately remembering that one player in Happy's lineup that had replaced Yi Shu's position. That rookie-like guy called Luoji or something, wasn't his class a summoner? Summoner. Lu Hao shuddered, suddenly realizing something. Tyrannical chain punch. Tang Hao's demon subduer had lunged into the fray by then. He didn't care who he'd catch. Divide. Their goal was to divide up Happy's 5 characters and isolate them from one another. Hit. Demon subduer crushed his target against the ground with one hand, his other hand crashing forth. The only thing was that it wasn't as satisfying as he thought it would be. This target seemed so tiny. Spirit cat. It was a measly spirit cat. Summoner. Summoner. Tang Hao finally realized what was going on, but soon enough, 2 sets of sharp claws had caught Demon Subduer's shoulders. Frost Wolf was biting down on Demon Subduer with a mouthful of chilling energy. Zhao Yuxia's elementalist Beautiful Light began to cast a high-level spell after Wind Howl had fully opened up their offensive. Absolute Zero. He wanted to use this powerful control skill to throw one of Happy's members out of their formation. However, in the middle of his casting, an eagle's cry sounded from amidst the purple smoke. A thunder eagle shot out from the smoke like a bolt of lightning, arriving in the air above Beautiful Light seemingly in the blink of an eye. It opened its mouth, spitting out a thunderbolt, and Zhao Yuxi was forced to dodge, canceling his cast. Not good. Zhao Yuxi had realized too. This wasn't good at all. The true goal of the smoke bomb wasn't to cover for Happy's 5 characters but to cover for Happy's summoner's summoning. Wind Howl wanted to fight man-to-man, but with a summoner, how could they manage? A summoner meant that there would always be more characters. A mistake. They had made a huge mistake. No one had expected that Happy's rookie would be the key character in their team competition. Summoner. This class was a rather obvious counter to Wind Howl's man-to-man style, but Wind Howl had neglected to consider him and forgotten to deal with him. This was only because he was replacing Yi Shu. Everyone was shocked, but had forgotten to consider what sort of value the person who had been substituted in might have in this team competition. Forgetting a rookie could be fatal to end chapter.
The King's Avatar, Chapter 1366. The Limits of Happy's Summoner. Audio source, wuxia-world-audiobook.com. Chapter 1366. The Limit of Happy's Summoner. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. Wind Howl, with their man-to-man offense, had neglected to consider the summoner amongst Happy's ranks. This was a humiliatingly rookie mistake. Team Happy's courage and their confidence in their players had reached an absurd level. For other teams, how many of them would be willing to bet everything on a rookie, even when knowing that summoners were a counter to Wind Howl's playstyle? A rookie that hadn't played many rounds since his debut at that. That's what Happy had done. As for the humiliating mistake Wind Howl had made, barely anyone had the heart to criticize them for it, because most people had neglected to consider this as well, just like Wind Howl. Just as everyone was obsessing over how Yi Shu wasn't playing, now many people had stopped to think how Happy would face this match without Yi Shu. From their perspective, Happy was just messing around with Yi Shu not playing. Unfortunately, with a smoke bomb and a summoner, Happy had used 2 rookies of theirs that rarely played in official matches to dismantle Wind Howl's man-to-man offense. The smoke had more or less dispersed and Happy's impressive formation was revealed. Concealed light summons made Team Wind Howl's man-to-man seem ever so idiotic. Lu Hao's absent son was caught by the Devil World Flowers vines. Tang Hao's demon subduer had managed to pin a spirit cat, but his own head was in the jaws of a frost wolf, a rather terrifying sight. Zhao Yuxia's Beautiful Light had been locked onto by a thunder eagle. Though there was no way a single summon could be much of a threat to a pro player, he'd have to ask the thunder eagle before he could attack Happy. Was Guo Yang's Chi Breaker and Lin Feng's Doubtful Demon in the clear then? Of course not. Happy was a team, and Luoji wasn't the only one in it. Concealed light summons had occupied 3 of Wind Howl's players, and the other members of Happy had plenty of freedom to act as they wished. Sumo Chung's Dancing Rain engaged Chi Breaker with her artillery. However, the most unfortunate one was Lin Feng. He was a battle thief and had sneaked over with Doubtful Demon under stealth, planning to tear a character out of Happy's formation. However, the smoke dispersed, his stealth wore off, and then he got surrounded. Tang Rou, Fang Rui, Mo Fan's 3 characters had surrounded Doubtful Demon. Dismantling an opponent's strategy didn't count as a victory. A true victory was dealing a critical blow to the opponent. Strategies could be switched and adjusted. Wind Howl wouldn't have the rookie mistake of forgetting the summoner in their opponent's ranks again. Thus, Happy would naturally want to use this chance and deal a critical blow to Team Wind Howl first. Otherwise, they would have merely tanked past their opponent's first wave of attacks. Without a counter-attack, what use was that? Lin Feng was currently deeply lodged in Happy's counter-attack. Being ganged up on by 3 people had him incapable of fighting back. Doubtful Demon's health plummeted, however, there wasn't nearly enough time to erase Doubtful Demon from the field in one go. Just a Thunder Eagle wasn't nearly enough to completely control Zhao Yuzhe. It might have looked scary with Frost Wolf's jaws clamped around Demon Subduer's head, but this was just a game. The damage didn't increase just because of how scary the scene was. However, the frosty breath of Frost Wolf would give Demon Subduer a slow that could prove annoying for Tang Hao. Lu Hao's absent son was only caught by the vine, which only limited his movements. He could still attack from there. The attack range of wave swords could still reach Happy. In the end, the only one who was pinned rather badly was Chi Breaker under Dancing Rain's assault. Summons, in the end, wasn't as good as a pro player, not nearly good enough. In the current situation, Happy has the advantage, but we can't determine the victors just from that. We'll still have to see how well they perform. Li Yiba could tell that the battle was far from over and commented with this in the live broadcast. Indeed, Lu Hao's absent son might be rooted in place by Devil World Flower, but Happy is still within his attack range. He can definitely still provide Lin Feng with support. Pan Lin exclaimed. Earthquake Sword. Lu Hao, as Pan Lin said, soon had absent son provide support for Doubtful Demon. However, Devil World Flower had become a shield then. Doubtful Demon was dragged behind Devil World Flower and beaten down. Absent Sun's wave sword attacks couldn't go around Devil World Flower no matter what. Earthquake Sword was all for naught. But Lu Hao did see a missile rocket over, bouncing on the ground twice before landing in front of him after the dust kicked up by Earthquake Sword dispersed. That bitch. Lu Hao only had the time to curse in anger before the heat-seeking missile descended, spewing fire. Absent Sun, trapped by the vine, couldn't dodge. Boom. A mushroom cloud engulfed Absent Sun. Sumo Chung, who was primarily dealing with Chi Breaker, managed to divide some of her precious time and focus to send Lu Hao a gift. Tang Hao's Demon Subduer managed to finally escape by then. Fling. The Frost Wolf was grabbed by Demon Subduer. Though his speed had been reduced due to the slow, the power of his attack wasn't reduced at all. The Frost Wolf was thrown right at Tang Rou and Co. Dragon breaks the ranks. But that was when Tang Rou, attacking even as she defended against his assault, charged out with a Dragon breaks the ranks, knocking the Frost Wolf away and stabbing right towards Demon Subduer. Tang Hao's reaction speed and mechanics were perfect, but he couldn't do anything about Demon Subduer's slow. With Tang Rou's abrupt and resolute change in targets, his character couldn't keep up with his attempt to dodge. With a clink, Demon Subduer was sent flying by soft mist. However, Tang Rou didn't bother pursuing him. Soft Mist turned right back, continuing her assault on Doubtful Demon. Happy is doing very well. Their play is methodical, very well paced. Li Yibo exclaimed in awe. But, like this, hasn't Demon Subduer escaped his pin? Tang Hao will be free to join the fray. Pan Lin said. Really? Li Yibo smiled. On the field, concealed lights casting in orders continued relentlessly. The 4 summoned beasts were what he mained, and this number was also one he was good at controlling. However, right now, Luo Ji didn't conserve anything. He summoned all and any summons that were available to concealed light. Some low-leveled summon creatures had very limited attack power, but Luo Ji wasn't counting on these summons to finish the battle. All these summons had one job: to stall and pin their opponents. They were like line after line of defense, preventing Wind Howl from engaging with Happy. To achieve this goal, Luo Ji summoned relentlessly. Luo Ji's mana was the one thing that was being exhausted the fastest on the field. Normally, summoners definitely wouldn't fight like this. Otherwise, they'd use up their mana before they managed to defeat their opponents. However, the task of defeating their opponents had been given to the others in Happy, and Luo Ji's task was simply to use his summons to continuously harass his opponents. This was a trade: concealed light's mana for the opponent's HP. Right now, Lin Feng's Doubtful Demon's health was being depleted just like Luo Ji's mana. Under the combined efforts of 3 of Happy's members, he couldn't retaliate at all. He could only stall as much as possible, waiting for his teammates to save him, and what Luo Ji was doing was preventing this sort of support. WuxiaWorldAudio.com. Concealed lights, summons and dancing rain's long-ranged firepower had become the biggest hindrance to Team Wind Howl. A measly rookie summoner had managed to stall their entire team. This reality was driving Wind Howl crazy. But what could they do? Luo Ji's crazed summoning had creature after creature appear in front of them. He was also giving the summons orders the best he could, not just sending him up to die. With Luo Ji's mechanics, he wouldn't be able to do it perfectly. However, the choice in what details to focus on and which to neglect was something he was accomplishing very well this time. He couldn't perfect his mechanics, but he would act when need at the crucial moments. Those who looked down on Luo Ji, but had some understanding of glory, snapped their mouths shut. Anyone could tell you how important Luo Ji was to this match. Though he wasn't the main DPS, he was an indispensable part of Happy's strategy. He was like a healer, barely providing any DPS, but who would say that a healer had no value on the field? As for those who were a little more skilled, they were shocked by Luo Ji's performance. It was true that he wasn't top-notch with mechanics, but he had managed to do what he could, the best he could. Precise calculations, a carefully executed rhythm. Happy seemed to have produced another interesting player. Although his natural talent was limited, he could perform at his limit. For example, if this were an exam, some had the ability to achieve a 100%, but because they would make mistakes out of carelessness, they only achieved 90%. As for Luo Ji, he was someone who could only achieve a maximum 90%, but in the end that was what he achieved. With that, his actual performance was no different from those who could achieve 100 but only got 90. Wind Howl needs to find a way to turn things around. This mess won't be good for them if it continues. Li Yibo commented. Then, Advisor Li, what do you think Wind Howl needs to do to solve this dilemma? Pan Lin asked. Cooperate, Li Yibo replied. Wind Howl needs to work as a team. Only by cooperating and advancing as a team can they successfully deal with concealed light stream of summons. Right now, they're each doing their own thing. It's far too low efficiency. This is the root of why Luoji has managed to stall them all by himself. As a team, Pan Lin wasn't too sure what to say anymore. Everyone knew that Wind Howl had ended up with this man-to-man style because they performed too terribly as a team. With that, they could brute force a battle of cooperation and teamwork into one-on-one duels. Yet now, Wind Howl had to work as a team to solve their current crisis. That's probably a little hard for them now, no? Pan Lin lamented. He couldn't lean too much to one side right now. After all, end chapter. The King's Avatar. Chapter 1367 Wind Howl That Needs Teamwork. Audio source, wuxia-world-audiobook.com. Chapter 1367 Wind Howl That Needs Teamwork. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. To have Wind Howl play as a team. Everyone who heard Li Yibo's evaluation went silent. If Wind Howl could play beautifully as one, would they have need to resort to their current method? In the end, a man-to-man full offensive playstyle was on the extreme end. When employing such an imbalanced playstyle, a slight fault in execution could result in the opponents grasping a huge opportunity. This time, because Wind Howl had neglected Happy's summoner, they had fallen into such a crisis. Lose like this. No one in Wind Howl was willing to give up. Who was that? Luoji? A name they had never even heard of, an unknown noob, was about to be their downfall. How could they live with that? Stand firm. Tang Harrod in the chat. Who knew if he wanted Lin Feng to persist, or if he wanted the whole team to continue with their current playstyle and look for an opportunity to break through. After he yelled out this order, the Frost Wolf summoned by Concealed Light once again pounced towards him relentlessly. Frost Wolf was one of Concealed Light's 4 main summons. Its battle power couldn't compare to the miscellaneous summons he only added a few points in. In addition to its naturally high defense and health, it wasn't something that could be dealt with in just a few blows, not even by Tang Hao. Back throw. Tang Hao could use a high priority move to have Demon Subduer throw the Frost Wolf behind him. However, in the blink of an eye, the Frost Wolf had climbed back up and pounced again. As Wind Howl's core, a lot of importance had been attached to Demon Subduer, but the enemy summons seemed to be endless. No matter what he did, he could never get rid of them all. No, it's not like this. Tang Hao was still a top-tier god. He obviously knew that although a summoner had a lot of summons, they didn't have an endless amount of them. The enemy summoner had an extremely strong grasp of rhythm, linking attack after attack. His calculations were immaculate. This guy, Tang Hao realized that Happy's Luoji wasn't a player that could casually be ignored. If it was a 1v1, Luoji's annoying tactics were nothing to be afraid of. If 1 came, he would kill 1. If 2 came, he would kill 2. He could just keep on killing summon after summon until Luoji ran out of mana. However, in the amount of time it took for him to kill 1 summon, who knew how much damage Lin Feng's doubtful demon would take? If he didn't hurry and rescue him, Wind Howl would immediately have 1 less player the enemy side. Such a wide disparity could not be casually erased. Restrict Concealed Light summons. Tang Hao finally gave the order. When Chen Guo saw this scene, she felt a wave of joy. Luoji seemed to be Happy's weakest member. He hadn't been used until the very end of the season, but in this match, the arrogant Team Wind Howl and the overbearing Captain Tang Hao had unexpectedly targeted him. They weren't focusing on Luoji because he was the weakest member, or because he was the easiest to bully, but rather because he was the one putting a halt to Wind Howl's plans. He had not only received the acknowledgement of his teammates, but the acknowledgement of an extremely proud opponent. Even if it was just in this team competition, Luoji had firmly cemented his place. Chen Guo believed that no matter what ended up happening, Tang Hao would certainly remember the name Luo Ji, this noob who had brought so much trouble to them. Well done. You have to win. Chen Guo celebrated quietly. But Wind Howl had already started acting. Under Tang Hao's clear orders, they began targeting Concealed Light. And this would be a group effort. In the end, Wind Howl had been forced to change their recently successful playstyle to deal with the situation. Zhao Yuji's Beautiful Light suddenly teleported, abandoning his original position. Wind Howl's formation had reason behind it. Every player's position efficiently split apart each opponent. But because they were switching up their tactics, Zhao Yuji immediately threw his position aside. There was also Lu Hao. His absent son was no longer being restricted by vines. After receiving the order, he immediately moved horizontally, his movements matching Zhao Yuji's. Team Wind Howl's team play was indeed lacking, but they had built up synergy in certain places. After all, each player was individually talented. If they truly couldn't work together at all, they wouldn't be qualified to be pro players. Absent Sun and Beautiful Light had joined together despite the blockade of summons. Beautiful Light's teleport had contributed greatly towards it. No matter how fast a Thunder Eagle may be, it could not achieve instant movement. After the two characters met up, Absent Sun moved to the front, while Beautiful Light moved to the back, forming a shield. The charging summons were dealt with by Lu Hao's Absent Sun, while Zhao Yuji's Beautiful Light began casting in safety. Then, a satellite beam crashed to the ground, sweeping towards them. The two immediately dodged. This girl again. Lu Hao's irritation had reached a peak, and Su Mucheng had kept it there. Dancing ranged firepower suddenly shifted towards them, unleashing a fierce assault. Absent Sun dodged with difficulty, and without protection, Beautiful Light could not continue casting. Everyone in the audience shook their heads. This was exactly why Wind Howl could not play well together. They had a certain level of synergy, but it stopped there. Their teamwork was easily broken apart. Not only that, the two had just gotten together, but were separated by a satellite beam. The two were now getting farther and farther apart. They had initially intended on coordinating with each other, but in the blink of an eye, their plan was destroyed without a sliver of it remaining. Wind Howl may have realized that their top priority is to stop Luo Ji from summoning freely. However, Wind Howl still hasn't found a good solution to it yet. Lu Hao and Zhao Yuji tried to convene, but Su Mucheng easily broke them apart. Pan Lin said, "Their teamwork still isn't good enough. In team battles, Wind Howl's foresight is rather lacking. Lu Hao's and Zhao Yuji's coordination was somewhat hurried. They failed to consider the issue of timing." Li Yibo had the courage to talk about Wind Howl's teamwork because it was rather weak. Weak meant superficial. Li Yibo could see through them without much effort. Then, Coach Li, what do you think they should do? Pan Lin asked. They could have Tang Hao and Zhao Yuji act as bait from one end, while Lu Hao and Guo Yang work from the other end. The two were old teammates in excellent era. Their synergy together should be quite high. Li Yibo was more than bold enough to talk about Wind Howl's plans. Indeed, that would be better. Lu Hao is. Pan Lin suddenly noticed something. Huh? This is. Li Yibo also noticed it. He's pretending to retreat, but in reality, he's looking to coordinate with Guo Yang, Pan Lin yelled. Guo Yang's Chi Breaker has made a move. Wuxia Dancing range-shifting targets gave him an opening, and he grasped that opening well. Pan Lin shouted. Su Mucheng's attacks were a bit excessive. She should have been able to promptly shift back. This opening shouldn't have existed, Li Yibo remarked. It was already too late though. Guo Yang's chi break was able to complete a cast during this opening cloud-grasping fist. Pan Lin shouted. Everyone's hearts leapt to their throats. Could Chi Breaker's move turn the tables for Wind Howl? The camera zoomed in on Concealed Light. But Dancing Rain. Pan Lin was astonished. Guo Yang's Chi Breaker was just barely able to find an opening to disrupt Happy's momentum, but he targeted Dancing Rain instead of Concealed Light. How calm, Li Yibo praised. Grabbing Concealed Light from his position was rather difficult. One slight slip-up, or if the summons got in his way, he might just end up grabbing a summon instead. That's why grabbing Dancing Rain is actually an excellent choice. Dancing Rain has been cloud-grasped and is out of the picture. Wait, she hasn't stopped attacking. Pan Lin was unable to keep his thoughts to himself and ended with a cry of surprise. Dancing Rain had been forcefully separated from her team with cloud-grasping fist, but she continued to bombard Lu Hao's absent son with attacks. Despite the forced movements, her attacks were still as precise as ever. Hit, 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 hit after hit. Lu Hao's absent son was blown up, as if there really was no sun. Could it be? Lu Hao isn't actually intentionally giving away openings, but rather Su Chung's attacks are truly so fierce that he's being forced into so many openings. Li Yibo was astonished. So you're saying, Guo Yang's opening came out of blind luck? Pan Lin said. It's hard to say. Li Yibo said. It really was hard to say, but seeing how Dancing Rain had been pulled away, yet refused to let up her attacks, those really were his thoughts. Dancing Rain bombarded absent sun as she moved towards Chi Breaker. Her speed actually increased because of the recoil from her attacks. Her character continued to grow larger and larger in front of Guo Yang's eyes. Why does this feel familiar? Guo Yang suddenly had a strange feeling rise up. He didn't have time to think carefully about it. Dancing Rain had already arrived in front of him. Behind. Guo Yang saw a warning from the team chat. Behind? How could there be anyone behind him? Happy's players were all in front of him. Wait, no. Isn't there someone missing? Soft mist. Guo Yang suddenly realized where that feeling of déjà vu came from. Launching spear. This was a tactic that Yi Chu and Su Mucheng had once used. What they meant by behind wasn't behind Chi Breaker, but rather behind Dancing Rain. Behind her was soft mist. Dancing fire, flowing flames swept by as the air itself seemed to boil. Guo Yang had the opportunity to strike Dancing Rain, but then the following battle mage attacks could not be dodged. What to do? This was a question that countless excellent era opponents got headaches from, but this time, it was Guo Yang's turn. Guo Yang didn't run away because his memory told him that when this tactic came, dodging would turn out worse than standing firm. Qi Gung Blast. Chi Breaker's palm slammed towards Dancing Rain as dancing fire, flowing flame swept towards him. End chapter.